from, again, some kind of heavily funded operation. It sort of was Stuxnet-like in the fact that it was highly sophisticated, used a lot of zero-day vulnerabilities, etc. But instead of actually trying to destroy something, its motive seems to have been to steal intellectual property and documents, etc. And then, there was the Elderwood project, there was the Flame more recently, which was mostly targeted around assets in the Middle East. And hidden links, again, this is a very interesting one, because this hidden links, we noticed, they actually attacked a security company, stole digital signing certificates, with which then they went on to go and attack a lot of other entities in the United States in the initial time frame when we were looking at them. But we realized that the attacker was actually a mercenary group which was financially motivated. So they themselves were not using the information, they were stealing it on behalf of other groups. And today we find that they are now more focused on Japan and South Korea. So, they keep changing their focus. It appears from their activity that they are highly sophisticated. They have access to a lot of knowledge and funding. But more importantly, they are also for hire. So no matter which country they are from, I mean, it's immaterial. But the fact is that their focus has been in very different places in the world. So targeted attacks, one of the things we have realized is that this year we saw that targeted attacks had actually gone up by almost 42%. The other trend that we are seeing, this is again a very interesting one, because intuitively you will notice that in the past the attack targets used to be the largest companies of the world, large governments, those kind of entities, and usually the small and medium businesses, etc., could take it easy saying that, hey, we are never the big focus for these bad guys. But that has changed rapidly, actually. We are noticing that attacks targeting small businesses, and this is the global trend, incidentally. So when we broke up the data for India, it is true for India too, I must point out. So this is a global phenomena which we are seeing, where there is a huge targeting of the middle set of companies, which is the SMB kind of businesses. And there are two reasons for it, we notice. One is because of the global supply chain, I mean, the way it works. So sometimes, and we have seen this in the United States in real attacks, and we can presume that that is the same modus operandi for India as well, because remember that in India, a lot of the medium businesses are integrating into supply chains of large companies in the United States or other countries, right, in Europe, or maybe even within the defense establishments and other establishments within India through sophisticated supply chain. So the idea is they sometimes find it easy to actually penetrate into these organizations and through them actually penetrate into the larger organizations there. The second reason is the bigger companies actually at this moment are more aware of security threats, and they also have increased the amount of funding that goes towards their cyber security and cyber defense postures. And they find that the SMB sector is probably less defended, and therefore it's easier to penetrate them and then get to the bigger companies and the governments and etc. So that's another really interesting trend that we are noticing recently. Now, websites, of course, have been infected for a very long time, right? Earlier, we used to notice, bad websites, and people used to say, hey, you go to these bad sites and you get infected. So there was a time almost a decade back when I could say, hey, if you get infected, then you are probably, you're going to websites that you shouldn't be going to. It's no longer the case. You'll notice that good websites that have no nefarious intentions, can also get you in trouble today. And the reason is that attackers actually have figured out that today's websites and web pages are so sophisticated that there are vulnerabilities that open up periodically that can be exploited. And we call them watering holes, because these are places where a lot of visitors come. For example, social media sites, news and shopping sites, etc. Now, even if they can be hacked into for a period of a day or 2 days, you get a lot of potential victims that potentially can be, gotten infected. And while earlier, the only kind of problem that you faced through infections was that you could basically get something stolen, one of the interesting things we have noticed for when it comes to the common man is that there is something called ransomware, which is actually showing up a lot. I mean, and again, we are getting examples even out of India where there have been victims of ransomware and ransom crypt. And what essentially happens here is that you may suddenly find that you begin to get some kind of your message. You can't get into your own computer. So let's suppose you walk into your home and you want to switch on your computer and you see some message like this. Now this message itself is makes it feel like the FBI or somebody has taken charge of your computer because you illegally did something. And some of these guys are so sophisticated that through the webcam they may even take your picture and put the picture up there on the side, so it looks like a legal, sort of like a notice to you saying that, hey, you have been caught doing something illegal, you have downloaded an illegal file or something. And then they'll say that to unlock your computer, you have to pay a fine. And obviously, as you can imagine, that's essentially where they are headed. I mean, they want to actually steal something. Now, this is what we call ransomware because they hold it for ransom. We are seeing this kind of phenomena even on mobile phones and some of the other things where it may not be sensitive IP, but there could be personal photos, etc., that you don't want circulating on the web or internet. And people take hold of it, and and basically they will send you a note which will say, hey, you have to pay $200 if you want it back, and we'll give it back to you, something like that. So they hold you to ransom essentially, and looks like they are making enough money in this space that they are innovating here further. So instead of locking your entire computer, now they even go and lock specific files sometimes. So in our study so far, I mean, it's a high growing thing. We have noticed there are about 16 gangs, and this is the estimated amount extorted from victims in 2012 because it was just new at that time, and a lot of activity. And we expect that when we again analyze the trend next year, we will have seen this number grow very big. So what exactly is happening? I mean, the bad guys always seem to be doing a lot of stuff. When we come into the security conferences, we feel, hey, there is all these nice little innovation and new things and new hacking, and it's all a scary world. So how are they so successful? So they are doing three things actually. One is that they're sharing information really well. Today, because of the way internet allows us to connect people, it's helping the bad guys too. Anything that helps the good guys also helps the bad guys. I mean, they just need to become aware, right? So they actually network a lot more. It's a lot easier to actually trade your services. So there is, because they are able to communicate, they can actually specialize. Earlier, the hackers used to be a guy with technical information. So the criminal and the technical information were all rolled into one. But today, most of the common criminal gangs are using cyber crime as a means to further their whatever motivations they have. But today they don't have to be the technical experts. They can hire technical skills. They can buy products that actually help them get there. So, and that kind of specialization and the parallel economy is booming actually in the cyber world, and it's made possible by information sharing. So that's the one big thing that they are doing. The second thing which I explained earlier was that they are very, very focused on technology because they have realized that technology is a two-way sword and it can really help them further their means. And third is they are mostly very well funded. The days of the single person sitting in his grandma's basement and hacking away is gone. Most of these guys are organized criminals or state-funded or non-state actors who are well funded. So those are, that's essentially the three things that are happening. And if you look at how a cyber attack happens, most of the sophisticated cyber attacks, they go through these stages. There are 5 stages in a cyber attack. The first one is reconnaissance. I mean, all of you, I could see from the keynote speakers that there are several of us here from the, from either the defense or, from the cyber crime cells of our police wings, etc., who are already familiar with this in the real world life, right? Because criminals usually tend to, first figure out the victims by doing some reconnaissance, and this is exactly what they do as well. So when they do reconnaissance, when they want to do a targeted attacks, that is where your online footprint makes a difference to them. So they will go out and research, hey, what kind of news media articles have come out about this guy? What kind of information does he have which is unsecured on their social networks, etc. And by virtue of that, they are able to craft a very specific attack which increases their chances of actually catching you in a vulnerable position. Incursion is how they gain access, and that is where they basically take all the information that they got through the reconnaissance stage and use it to get in. And so, for example, suddenly you may receive an email which seems to be coming from your boss or a colleague, and he's talking about a recent vacation that you took. So you don't suspect it as being a phishing attack simply because it looks so normal. And the reason they have all that information is because of the footprint that we leave behind in online world and other places, right? And then there is the discovery phase. Once they have actually infected your computer, today they are not the kind of guys who quickly see what is there on your computer and run off with it. Today they are more sophisticated. They sit there quietly waiting for the real crown jewels that they are after. So which means that even if your computer is hacked, it may go undetected for a long time. They'll sit on your network and move from network to network until it has reached the place where they really need to go, which means that they first discover where the assets are, they try to figure out what do they want to take. And finally, after they have found the asset, they'll figure out a way to take control of that asset. So many a times, personal assistants in large companies or accountants, HR people, these are the kind of guys who initially get infected through phishing attacks because they know that chances are high that these people are not as aware of security procedures. And through them, they then go higher and higher in privilege and then go closer to the asset that they are trying to steal. And once they have figured out that, then they basically begin the process of capturing that asset. And finally, how do they exfiltrate it? So there are two things here. If it is information, then they exfiltrate it, they'll steal it, that's their intention, and they want to make sure that at that stage they are not caught. How do they pick it up without somebody realizing who's stealing that information? Or many people just want to destroy and create problems for you, right? If it is a nation state trying to hold you back in some way or delay something on your side, then all they want to do is destroy something. Now that could be a physical asset which is connected to which has a computer control. It could be a gas station or a gas pipeline or or something like that, or a telecom network of a country that you want to bring down. In which case there is nothing to exfiltrate. All you need to do is actually turn off something or destroy something. But in other cases, it could be espionage or just financially motivated crime where you actually are stealing stuff. So these are the stages that they go through. And for a proper defense, you usually would try to look at all these stages and have a defense posture which actually tries to detect all of these stages. When they are reconnaissance, are there unusual patterns which show that somebody is trying to be very closely watching what you're doing? When they are coming in, we know that there are several technologies that try to catch attacks at that stage. Even when they are trying to discover, because within the network you will notice anomalous activities, capturing all these stages. Actually, there could be things that you could do. So finally, the cybersecurity challenge is that attacks are getting sophisticated. They have resource, they have experience, and your infrastructure continues to be complex, right? And this is not only true of governments and of enterprises. There, of course, we know the challenge, right? I mean, with virtualization, with clouds, with a lot of the sophisticated infrastructure that you use, I mean, there are new threat vectors and new challenges that you're facing. But even your own home is beginning to resemble an IT shop. You have a smart TV, Wi-Fi, computers, mobile phones. I mean, they're all interconnected. I mean, there is so much going on even in your home which you don't realize. And you do have assets that are critical and important to you personally. I mean, and these are not only financially important to you, but there could be memories from your children's wedding or birthdays or other things which are only stored as digital copies, and you would hate to lose them, right? I mean, because those are like your albums of old. So there is a lot at stake for both the individual as well as companies and governments, and complex heterogeneous infrastructure is making it a little more difficult. Increased cost of incidents. I mean, nowadays the average cost when an infection happened has gone up a lot because the value of information on your IT infrastructure is much higher today. And finally, information explosion. Because if you look at, if this represents the amount of information that the world had in 2011, this is how it is going to look when you compare it to just a couple of years' time. And then when you look at 2020, this is how it's going to look. Essentially, digital information, the amount of information that you're safeguarding is multiplying at an exponential pace. So not only are the attackers getting sophisticated, but the things that you're trying to secure, which is basically digital information of some kind, is becoming larger and larger, which means that you really need to get our acts together to be able to actually deal with this issue. So what can we do? So there are several things we can do at a low level, but at a higher level, I think what we need is more collaboration. I think that's the most important thing, and therefore, even some of the initiatives and policies we have seen from the government, I mean, are a great step in that direction, because we have seen more forums where there are collaborative activities between government, public, and private sectors, because I think that really is important to be able to bring the game to the bad guys. Security intelligence is very important, and by that what I mean is not only knowing who your potential attackers can be, but also knowing where is your critical information. I mean, that may seem like a very obvious thing, but it is not. Today you are flooded with so much information that if I were to ask you where do you think your critical information is stored, it will take you some time to figure it out. So intelligence includes intelligence about your own assets, intelligence about your risks, about who potentially could have the motive to steal certain thing, and using that as a way to know where to focus on. Because in the absence of this becomes like searching for needle in a haystack. And finally, education programs. Because remember, you could have the most sophisticated tools in the world, but people are always going to be the weak link unless they know what to expect. And training is a big part. One of the things I remember is we created a little bit of a cyber game within our company, just to train our own people. I mean, this was meant to be more of a game because we are a security company, and so we tried to create groups where people would take on the roles of potential hackers and try to attack an asset, and we gave away gifts. But we soon realized that there are other companies which are asking us for that, and because people realize that they want to build awareness in their own groups. When you do these kind of cyber games within your company, you let people recognize how a phishing attack looks like, and participation. If you can get those education programs done in a way which is fun of this kind, then you'll notice that participation comes not only from the security conscious, the security experts in the company, but the common people who use IT infrastructure. Because remember that those are the guys that need training. I mean, everybody who has access to any set of credentials on the computer potentially are people who could actually be the incursion points for attacks, and therefore education is a very big part of this. So our belief is that these are the three big areas where we would expect people to focus on as we move ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, sir. And to present a token of appreciation, may I please request General A.K. Hukku to join us on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together as the gentlemen join us for a photo opportunity and more. Well, there's a tea break coming soon, so we can truly applaud. Thank you so very much for joining us and for that very interactive presentation there. Moving on, I'd like to share with all of you that we are having the tweetathon here, which means that all of you are welcome to tweet. We have some kiosks right outside the hall in the pre-function area, so you're most welcome to tweet. The more you tweet about the Ground Zero Summit, the more chances of you winning, and we already have a winner with us, Dinesh Bareja, Mr. Dinesh Bareja. Many congratulations. You're the 2 p.m. winner, and we're going to award you very soon. So making sure that all of you get an opportunity to win. Once again, I'd like to invite all of you to join us at the tweetathon counter and make sure that you tweet a lot and of course win some great prizes. I'd also like to invite all of you to take a look at our exhibition. A lot of our exhibition counters are on the left, the hardcore area section. That is where tea will be served. Post the tea break, we'll divide the hall into 3 parts. On my right, we'll have the systems session going on. The hall that we are currently in will have the strategy session. And on this side, we're going to have the communication session. So let's make sure that all of us enjoy each other's company and a short tea break. I'd like to invite all of you to join us once again inside each hall in the next 15 minutes. And I'd also like to thank the Airport Authority of India for supporting us and the Ground Zero Summit 2013. Thank you for joining us once again. Enjoy tea. We'll meet again in the next 15 minutes. Thank you.